What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Bleach: The Thousand Year Blood War. This is episode 20, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Uh, yeah, I mean, yeah, I like this episode. Okay, so many people online are already saying this is one of the best episodes of the series so far. Uh, or maybe or in general or something. I mean, I can't really say that I believe that, but I think overall this was like a pretty decent episode.
I think
Featuring Kenpachi.
visually, it was definitely the best so far
Yeah,
from what I've seen, especially out of this core for Thousand Year Blood War.
yeah. I mean, we've seen other like episodes that really ramped up the action. This one, like it definitely like it did ramp. Uh, I think it ramps. It's like one of the more ramped up in action sequences, like throughout this core in general. I still think the one with Yamamoto and Yuhaba was still like one of the best ones they released since the show came back. But overall, I overall I am very pleased on how this episode turned out. Featuring Kenpachi, like putting Kenpachi in the spotlight for the first time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and he's also been absent for quite a while after his fight with Unohana.
Hmm. Yeah, and of course, we pretty much pick up where the last episode leaves off. After Rukia came out victorious in her fight, so it gets us into the fourth division. Like I think you could say it's their temporary barracks because their original barracks got destroyed during the initial attack. So I think it was uh, so it's both Isane and Yachiru both encountered this Stern Ritter. I think he called himself V, or I think it was Stern Ritter 5. So last time we see Yachiru trying to fight this guy off by punching him several times, but she gets hit back out of nowhere, and then this guy's ability it's really strange. Like he has the ability to strike back at a person, but also gives them amnesia over what happened prior, or he just simply just erases his existence or something.
Yeah, he has like a few different things he can do. Like he can make himself invisible, erase your memories of him. But it really doesn't seem like it does much of anything. I mean, it seems like it might at first, but it doesn't really have much of an effect. And we also see Yachiro using her Zanpakuto, which I don't think we've ever seen before. That she uses her Zanpakuto, and we see what it looks like.
Yeah, it seems like she. So she just like throws one good strike at this guy, and then he immediately gets slashed up in the face. And then it also
Yeah,
sounds
and
like
she said like her Zanpakuto apparently will slash anybody, like it doesn't miss or it hits anybody that she tries to swing it at, I guess.
yeah, and it also summons like these two, I don't know, hollow like beasts. I don't know if you really call them a hollow beast, but
They do kind of look like hollows.
yeah, and I didn't. They just come out of nowhere, all of a sudden. But then as soon as like after she lays down the first strike, and I think one of the other Sturden Ritters, I think his name is Gremmy, comes in, and he just all of a sudden just he just kills what was it, Stern Ritter 5, for whatever reason. He just basically like Gremmy's ability just goes beyond ridiculous at several points because he says he can use his imagination and just make it into reality of sorts.
Yeah, his ability seems really, really overpowered because he can just use his imagination to have anything he wants to happen, basically. So if he gets, injured, he can just heal himself because he imagines him healing himself. If he wants any kind of weapon, he can have it appear before him, or anything he wants to happen will happen. It's almost like, how do you beat somebody like that?
Yeah, and he just beats Yachiro just by just he breaks both her arms in such a gruesome manner.
Oh, and he also says like your bones have turned into cookies, and I guess they. I don't know. We don't see it happening, but I guess they do.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
if it did turn to cookies, then her arms would have just shattered like into pieces, but it just seems like her bones, I don't know, just completely just got twisted, out of proportion. So soon after that, Kenpachi finally arrives to save uh, both Yachiro and Isane, and of course Isane asks Kenpachi what happened to Captain Nunohana, and he confirms that he killed her. And instead of being angry at him, like Isane is of course relieved to hear the news that over what happened, and understanding that it was the only way for Kenpachi to pretty much unlock his potential.
Yeah, she already knew that one of them was going to die because we saw, of course, in the first core that Unohata had left some kind of a letter behind. So I guess she already knew what was going to happen.
Yeah. So this of course immediately leads us into the fight between Gremmy and Kenpachi. With Well, I mean, despite Gremmy's best efforts to taunt Kenpachi by saying like he can like imagine stuff and make it into reality, so Kenpachi just basically just brushes it all off and saying that he can just there's nothing that he can't cut. That's basically what he says.
Well, because he imagines his body to be like steel, but he says, "Well, I can cut through steel." Um, and we find out later, like he says, his blade can cut through anything.
Yeah, and of course the fight just uh it goes almost goes into such ridiculous levels about how Grammy utilizes his abilities. He summons like thousands of assault rifles around him and he just starts shooting at Kenpachi. And
Yeah,
then
this is probably my favorite fight so far, honestly, just because of all the just all the ridiculous things that Grammy tries to throw at Kenpachi. I mean, the most ridiculous. Well, I don't know, but that's not even the most ridiculous one. But he pulls out an arsenal behind him of guns to shoot him, and tries to blow him up with rockets.
yeah,
And Kenpachi just slices through it.
and he traps him. He also traps him in a cube of water suspended up in the air. And then I think there was something else. Yeah, I can't remember
He
honestly.
tries to throw him into space at one point, which
Oh yeah,
he
like a
gets out of
giant.
that.
There was a giant stone hand that slams into Kenpachi, but of course Kenpachi brushes that off, and then Grammy creates clones of himself, uh, at least several times. But Kenpachi like takes each of them down, and then finally, what you were talking about is his most ridiculous one. He just summons a freaking meteor up in the sky.
Yeah, this was the craziest part. Like him just summoning that giant meteor, and I'm just like thinking, how in the hell is Kenpachi gonna deal with this? But of course, that's when we get the reveal that his sword can cut through anything, and that includes a meteor. So he goes up to basically just slice the meteor in half.
Yeah, and just in a brief moment, if you see that image, you can see him like reverting back to his younger kid self. Like
Yeah, I thought that was a nice touch. How we kind of see him revert back to like looking like his kid self.
yeah, and so Kenpachi finally releases his Shikai, which is called Nozarashi, which is it's just basically like a giant freaking cleaver of sorts.
Yeah, it almost looked like an axe. I thought it was like a giant axe.
Yeah, he immediately just slices that meteor in half. And I think Gremmy's last ditch effort is just basically just imagine like Kenpachi in like this, in this vacuum of like space, which almost suffocates Kenpachi to death. But of course, Kenpachi just immediately, I guess you could say he cut Grammy in half, but Grammy heals himself again and then just imagines himself to be stronger. But then soon afterward, I guess Kenpachi laid the final killing blow on Grammy, which which pretty much I guess you could say it. I don't know if it really killed him or not because it's hard to really even tell about Grammy at
Well,
this point.
it disintegrated his body, but he said that even his body was just his something that he imagined, and I don't know. I guess it's true form because we see a brain just come out, and I guess maybe his true form is just the brain.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's just uh, I guess by the end of the episode, I guess Grammy like I guess it dissolves into pretty much what's left of it left of his soul, and I guess it may have gone back to Yuhaba, uh, like like what happened to the other
Yeah.
what was it? The other two Stern Ritters that they ended up executing.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, like I said, this is probably I don't know, at least for this core, I would say this is my favorite fight just because of every like just how many different things, like I said, the grooming tries to throw at Kenpachi and how Kenpachi deals with it. The other fights were good too, but it's just like I felt like this one was just the most intense, the most crazy out of everything that everything that happens in the fight. Um, the only thing I remember people saying they were kind of concerned about this episode before it came out because I think it adapts 8 chapters of the manga. Uh, so and I mean, like to me, I couldn't really tell honestly. I mean, I guess some parts of it did feel like they were a little bit rushed because I think there were some parts of the fight that the manga sort of goes a little bit more in depth in but the anime sort of cuts. Um, but other than that, like I thought it was, they did a pretty good job considering how much material they were trying to adapt in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Overall, I did enjoy enjoy how ridiculous this episode was, uh, and not to mention like how very well animated. Not just the animation and the action, but just also like the overall tone and like and the environments as well, and how much destruction just these two characters wrought.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely one of the best visually of the of these episodes so far. I would say, at least in the second core.
Yeah,
Um, I was really impressed by it. And apparently, in the next episode, Ichigo will finally return, which is what I think we've all been waiting for. Because for most of this core, it feels like we've just been kind of been going back and forth with the different captains, lieutenants, them fighting, each different Stern Ritter.
yeah, and yeah. I mean, I've been saying this like for several episodes now, but like we get into each of these episodes with a lot of the Soul Reapers fighting against these Stern Ritters, and they immediately dispatch each Stern Ritter, per episode at this point, which is like, I mean, if like in the first core, like the Soul Reapers had so much trouble fighting against these guys, and now like they're just it's almost like watching these episodes every week, they just effortlessly take them down.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is probably explained by the training they did, but I mean, I guess they did so much training that they are able to fight them, or are able to beat them at this point, and also because they have their Bankais back now. Um, I mean, we also have to remember that they did end up having their Bankai stolen in the first invasion, so I mean, it was a lot more difficult for them to fight back.
Yeah, but it also made it a lot easier. I mean, thanks to Urahara's experimentation and thinking, he's able to immediately bring back their Bankais just right out of the gate. So that I guess you could
Yeah.
say, like it's what really turned what really turned the tide, thanks to Urahara's help.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't have too much else to say about the episode. I thought it was it's one of the best ones so far, to be honest. I'm just wondering how anything after this can live up to this one. I mean, I'm guessing they'll probably, if the opening is anything to go by, that maybe there'll be a confrontation with Ichigo and Uryu by the end of this core, maybe.
Hmm.
That when Ichigo does come back. Uh, but I guess maybe that'll be that might beat this one. But this is it's probably one of the best episodes I've seen, if not the best of this core in particular.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy this episode. I think it's one of the best ones they released this core. Um, I mean, I still think the Yamamoto one was the best one since Thousand Year Blood War came out, but I think this is like definitely one of the best
Mhm.
ones by far for the second core.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, guys. But that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.